So I just saw the Fantastic Four First Steps, and it was alright, I guess. When you compare it to the other films, it's not nearly as awful, except for the unreleased Roger Corman produced one, which was hilariously awful, but a genuinely fun way. I highly recommend watching it if you want to watch a really bad comic book movie. I can't remember what I thought of the Tim Story ones, as there's not much worth remembering, except for maybe Michael Chiklis' performance and Chris Evans being okay. As for the Josh Trank one, there's literally nothing worth talking about outside of the behind-the-scenes disaster it went through. It's a boring film. It's a slog to get through. It's not even fascinating to discover what was the original intent, because the original intent is so broken at its core, in my opinion, to where it's like, what were you doing, guys? Come on. But if you do want to know more about what happened behind the scenes, I'd highly recommend checking out Eisenhardt's video on it. It's pretty fascinating, I must say. As for this interpretation of the Fantastic Four, I felt the film was just okay. One thing about this version compared to the other films I felt didn't do that well of a job with was that they felt like a family in this interpretation. I got the feeling that they were friends and established a sense of connection with each other, both as a crime-finding unit team and as a family in of itself. Vanessa Kirby is easily the best part of the film, even though, in my opinion, she's not really channeling some of her best work like Pieces of a Woman did. Joseph Quinn was good in his part, even though some of his quips were bad and not really that funny, and it relies a little bit on that typical MCU humor we used to, which thankfully isn't in it as much in this film. Eben Moss Backrack is also good as the Thing, despite his character not being given much to do within the film's plot. Pedro Pascal was also good as well. Julia Gardner as the Silver Surfer was fine, even though I haven't seen this character much outside the Tim Story one. I also liked Ralph Ineson as Galactus, especially with how deep his voice matched the character, and also had a pretty cool design as well. Some of the action in it was fine, although it was nice to see this film incorporate Reed's stretchy powers without having it look incredibly bad. And the Interstellar-inspired sequence was pretty cool to look at. Without going too much into spoilers, I did like that they incorporate Reed and Sue as parents, as well as the consequences that revolve around the end-of-the-world plot, so to speak. Where the film frustrated me personally is that it didn't have much of an arc for these characters to go on. If anything, it felt more in line with the 2000s version of X-Men, where it felt like they needed to do the bare minimum to establish that they can do an okay version of these characters. And to be fair, they just came out the heels of a disastrous take from Josh Trank, so I guess I understand why they played it a bit safe with this. But at the same time, I do wish these characters had a chance to grow within this narrative, as there are ways you could do it revolve around this world-threatening plot. The other issue I'm starting to have with these MCU films is that I wish there was more of a personality to them in terms of visual presentation. You do get some of that 60s aesthetic look in the film when they do the broadcast news, but it's not there enough during the other scenes where it's the gang having dinner or them fighting in space. I guess what I'm trying to say is that if you're going to do more of these films, you should try and do something that makes them stand out, because they're starting to blend into one another in a pretty bad way, I must say. And I was able to forgive it before because it was leading up to Endgame, but now we're past the Endgame and we're like, all right, where are we with this franchise? What are we building up to exactly? Regardless, I felt the film was just fine. The performances by this ensemble are good, and the action at times is enjoyable enough. Wish there was more for me to chew on, but what can you do? I'm giving it a 6 out of 10. Don't know if I'll watch it again, but who knows? I may end up revisiting this down the road. Thanks for listening, and I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.